Hollywood often has a hard time creating rock bands that both look and sound real, but sometimes they hit the nail on the head and create an awesome group worthy of an actual stage. My name's Justin, and today on Countercultured, 5 famous bands from movies and TV that were actually good enough to be real. First up is the garage rock band Mouse Rat from the comedy show Parks and Recreation. Led by lead singer and guitarist Andy Dwyer, the band appeared in many episodes and were integral to many iconic moments from the show. Dwyer, played by Chris Pratt, often refers to the Dave Matthews Band as his biggest inspiration for songwriting, and you can actually hear it in some of the things that he writes. The band showcases many different songs throughout the show, with several relating to or directly influenced by the show's plot. Take, for example, their first notable song, The Pit. The inciting incident of the show involves Andy falling into a large pit outside of his house, breaking his legs. His then girlfriend Ann Perkins goes to the Pawnee Department of Parks and Recreation to get the pit filled and quickly becomes best friends with the show's protagonist, Leslie Knope. Andy writes The Pit as a reflection of his experiences falling into the pit, and while it doesn't have the most creative lyrics, it's got a good message and it pulls from some relevant experiences, something that we can all appreciate in songwriting. Some of Mouse Rat's other most notable songs include Sex Hair, I bet you can guess what that's about, the theme song for Knope's 2012 City Council campaign, Catch Your Dream, and 5,000 Candles in the Wind, a tribute to Pawnee's late mini horse, Lil Sebastian. I know how silly that sounds, but you'd be surprised at how catchy some of their songs are, despite the over-the-top nature of the show. Mouse Rat has a little something for everyone, and the sheer volume of music written for the band during the show is enough to make them seem like an actual band. Their official LP, The Awesome Album, has some pretty awesome tracks, and it does not take long for them to get stuck in your head for days. Up next is another indie rock band called Sex Bob-omb from the movie Scott Pilgrim vs. the World. This movie's protagonist, Scott Pilgrim, played by Michael Cera, plays bass guitar in the band, alongside guitarist/vocalist Steven Stills and drummer Kim Pine, played by Mark Webber and Allison Pill, respectively. In the movie, the band tries to get a record deal by winning a Battle of the Bands contest. Little do they know, the sponsor of the event, Gideon Graves, is the ex-boyfriend of Scott's new crush, Ramona, and to win her hand in romance, Scott has to battle 7 of her evil exes, including Gideon. I know, it's complicated, but damn is that movie good. Sex Bob-omb is a little bit of an acquired taste, as their music is nowhere near as polished as the other groups on this list. All of the songs written in the movie were recorded in 2 days to give them a rough, demo-like sound. In the words of Scott Pilgrim himself,
"We are Sex Bob-omb, and we're here to make you think about death and get sad and stuff."
True 2000s punk band. I find their raw underground style reminds me of an early Jet. I don't know if Nick Kester ever used that much distortion on his voice, but he's got that similar lazy style of singing, but it's anything but actually lazy. It just kind of sounds that way. As the movie shows, Sex Bob-omb brings the heat in competition and manages to take down all of the other bands to earn Gideon's record deal. And then after accepting, they promptly realize they've sold out, and the band goes nuts and provides an epic backing track to Scott's final showdown with Gideon. It's awesome. Now, if that isn't spot on for punk rock bands, I don't know what is. They may not be the most polished band on this list, but Sex Bob-omb captures the essence of underground garage rock flawlessly, and that's all we really need, isn't it? Now it's time to crank things up to 11. If you grew up in or with the 80s, you've probably heard of this next band, Spinal Tap, from the classic mockumentary, This is Spinal Tap. Actors Christopher Guest, Michael McKean, and Harry Shearer make up the English heavy metal band as they tour throughout the United States to promote their new album, Smell the Glove. The band, and the movie for that matter, represents everything about 80s stadium rock bands perfectly. It's honestly hilarious how many famous 80s artists have gone on record stating how spot on This is Spinal Tap is. So what makes the movie and the band so realistic? You might think that some of the drama in the movie, like members quitting mid-performance, is a little far-fetched, but you'd be surprised. Ever heard of the Eagles or Oasis? Musicians can get pretty heated over their creative visions, and Spinal Tap demonstrates this with side-splitting accuracy. Speaking of creative visions, the actual music performed by Spinal Tap isn't that bad either. They were certainly no Metallica or Black Sabbath, but some of their songs do hold up after nearly 40 years, like Tonight, I'm Gonna Rock You Tonight. And I'm sure every 80s rock group can relate to Spinal Tap's more experimental tracks like Stonehenge, or the rather poorly received Jazz Odyssey improvised live in the absence of their lead guitarist Nigel. If you haven't yet watched this movie and experienced the pure joy that is Spinal Tap, you've been living under a rock and you need to go check it out right now. The main character of this next entry was probably inspired by movies like This Is Spinal Tap, as all he wants to do is play rock music. I'm of course talking about Jack Black's character Dewey Finn in the 2003 comedy School of Rock. Dewey gets kicked out of his band, and to make ends meet, he takes on the identity of his roommate and former bandmate, who's been asked to be a substitute teacher at a nearby prep school. He discovers that his new students have untapped musical potential, and with them forms a band called School of Rock in order to win a Battle of the Bands contest and pay his rent with the prize money. It's not the most selfless motivation for a character, but it's Jack Black, so oh well. At the climax of the movie, Dewey gets caught as an impersonator and then flees the school. But not wanting their hard work to go to waste, the kids actually sneak away from the school, pick up Dewey, and bring him to the Battle of the Bands contest, where they wipe the floor with the other groups. Even though School of Rock doesn't actually win the contest, their performance has the entire crowd chanting for an encore, and it's well deserved. Their song Teacher's Pet is honestly really good. Like, better than a lot of classic rock and modern rock. And what makes it even better is that all of the kids in this movie are actually playing their instruments. I was barely able to hold down a rock beat when I was 10, so watching these kids tear it up on their instruments is kind of awe-inspiring, and also kind of makes me feel bad about where I'm at right now. Unfortunately, we don't get many original tracks from the movie, but the sheer talent of School of Rock is enough to put them on par with real adult artists and to grant them a spot on this list. Before we move on to the final band, don't forget to hit the like button if you're enjoying this video. It spreads it to a lot more people who might also enjoy it, and it helps out the channel a ton. This last group isn't quite as well known as some of the other ones on this list, but they're arguably one of the best ones. And that band is Steel Dragon from the 2001 movie Rockstar. Played by Mark Wahlberg, Izzy Cole is the lead singer for a Steel Dragon tribute band, but after being fired from his own group, he's actually chosen to replace the singer for the actual Steel Dragon. The quick shift into becoming a rock star turns his entire life upside down, for better or for worse. And by the end of the movie, Izzy's new lifestyle has worn him down, and he feels out of place with the rest of the group. He chooses to embark on a solo career, ditching his rock star image and the stress that comes with it. Not only does this movie show the potentially harmful side effects of a rock star lifestyle, it also has some damn good music. Many of the songs were written by a real band, Steelheart, like Izzy's audition song, We All Die Young, and many of the other band members were played by actual musicians. Steel Dragon's rhythm guitarist was played by actor Dominic West, but the other members were played by Zach Wilde, Jeff Pilson, and Jason freaking Bonham, as in the son of John Bonham. Additionally, the movie features a cameo from the one and only Miles Kennedy, who replaces Izzy as the lead singer for Steel Dragon in a scene that actually mirrors Izzy's own induction into the band. With a stacked cast like that, I have no idea why this movie bombed at the box office, considering it's one of the best representations of 80s hair bands that I've ever seen. I strongly recommend that you check this movie out, if only just for the music. It's genuinely a great time. Unfortunately, because all of these bands were confined to the TV screen, we often never got to see enough of them, just like the groups in this video who all broke up after only a handful of great releases. Go check it out next to learn about some more awesome rock bands, and I'll see you next time.